Most cars today barely make it past 150,000 kilometers before they end up in a scrapyard. The average driver thinks that's just how it works, that cars are designed to fail. But I'm here to tell you that's complete nonsense. I've personally driven my truck to over 800,000 kilometers, and it still runs like the day I bought it. No major engine work, no transmission rebuild, just consistent maintenance and smart driving habits that 99% of car owners completely ignore. Today, I'm sharing every single habit that got me there. These aren't complicated, they're not expensive, but they work. And if you stick around until the end, I'll show you the #1 mistake that kills more engines than anything else and how to avoid it completely. Let's get started. Before we dive in, if you want to keep your car running for decades instead of years, hit that subscribe button right now. I post real mechanic advice every week, the kind that actually saves you money instead of costing you more. Now, let's talk about what really keeps a car alive. Habit number 1. I never skip oil changes, ever. And I mean never. Not once in 800,000 kilometers have I pushed my oil past its service interval. You know why? Because I've seen what happens when people do. I've opened up engines that went just 2,000 kilometers past due, and the damage was already starting. Sludge building up in the valleys, carbon deposits forming on the valves, oil passages getting narrower by the mile. Here's what most people don't understand. Your oil isn't just lubricating metal, it's cleaning, cooling, and protecting every moving part in your engine. When that oil breaks down, it stops doing all three, and once it stops, the damage happens fast. I'm talking weeks, not months. I change my oil every 5,000 kilometers with full synthetic. No exceptions, no excuses. Rain or shine, busy or not, that oil gets changed on schedule. And I don't care what the owner's manual says. If it tells you 10,000 or 15,000 kilometers, that's designed to get the car through the warranty period, not to 800,000. Manufacturers want you buying a new car every few years. I want mine lasting forever. So I cut that interval in half, and my engine thanks me for it every single day. Habit number 2. I let my engine warm up properly, but not how you think. You've probably heard that you should let your car idle for 5 or 10 minutes before driving. That's old advice, and it's dead wrong. Idling doesn't warm up your engine, it drowns it. When you idle, especially in cold weather, your engine runs rich. That means extra fuel is being injected to compensate for the temperature. And where does that extra fuel go? It washes down your cylinder walls, dilutes your oil, and creates a thin, useless film that can't protect anything. I learned this the hard way. Years ago, I used to idle my first truck for 10 minutes every winter morning. Thought I was being smart. Then I started noticing my oil looked thinner than it should, and my fuel economy was terrible. When I finally pulled the oil pan, I could smell gasoline in the oil. That's when I realized I'd been killing my engine every single morning trying to warm it up. Now, here's what I do instead. I start the engine, I wait exactly 30 seconds, just long enough for oil to circulate, and then I drive gently for the first 2 kilometers. No hard acceleration, no high RPMs, just easy, steady driving. This gets the engine up to temperature 8 times faster than idling, and it does it without fuel contamination. Your engine reaches full operating temperature through load, not time. Drive it gently, and it warms up right. Habit number 3. I drive like my grandmother is in the passenger seat. Aggressive driving doesn't make you faster. It makes your car die sooner. Every time you slam the accelerator, you're asking your engine to dump extra fuel and work twice as hard. Every time you brake late, you're turning kinetic energy into heat and wearing down components that cost hundreds to replace. I see it all the time in the shop. People come in with worn brake pads, warped rotors, and burnt clutches, and they always ask the same thing. How did this happen so fast? The answer is always the same. Because you drive like you're in a Formula 1 race. Here's how I drive. I accelerate smoothly. I anticipate stops and coast whenever possible. I don't tailgate, so I'm not constantly on the brakes. I shift gears early to keep RPMs low, and I never, ever floor it unless I absolutely have to. This driving style has saved me thousands in brake jobs, clutch replacements, and tire wear. And it's added years to my engine's life because I'm not constantly constantly stressing every component to its limit. Habit number 4. I watch my temperature gauge like a hawk. Most drivers never look at their gauges. They just assume everything is fine until the check engine light comes on. That's a mistake that can cost you an entire engine. Your temperature gauge is the most important gauge in your car. It tells you if your cooling system is working, if your thermostat is functioning, and if your engine is about to overheat and destroy itself. I glance at mine every few minutes when I'm driving. Not obsessively, just a quick check to make sure it's sitting where it should be. And here's the thing. If that needle ever starts climbing into the red, you have maybe 2 minutes before serious damage starts happening. Not 10 minutes, not 5, 2. I've seen engines warp cylinder heads in less time than it takes to pull over and call for help. So here's my rule. If the temperature gauge goes above normal, I pull over immediately. I shut the engine off, I pop the hood, and I call a tow truck. I don't try to limp home. I don't pour water in the radiator and keep driving. I stop because a tow costs $150 and a new engine costs $8,000. Habit number 5. I check my fluids every single week. Oil, coolant, brake fluid, power steering fluid, transmission fluid. Every Saturday morning, I pop the hood and I check them all. It takes 5 minutes, and in those 5 minutes, I've caught problems before they became disasters more times than I can count. Low coolant, that's a leak somewhere. Low brake fluid, your pads are worn, or you've got a leak in the line. Low oil, you're burning it or leaking it, and either way you need to know. Most people wait until something fails before they check anything. By then, the damage is done. I check weekly because I want to catch problems when they're small and cheap, not when they're catastrophic and expensive. And here's a tip. When you check your oil, don't just look at the level. Look at the color. Fresh oil is amber or golden. Old oil is dark brown or black. If your oil looks like tar, it's overdue for a change, even if you're not at the mileage interval yet. And if it smells like gasoline, you've got a fuel dilution problem that needs fixing now. Habit number 6. I rotate my tires every 8,000 kilometers without fail. Tires are expensive. A good set can cost $800 or more depending on your vehicle, so I make mine last as long as possible by rotating them religiously. Front tires wear faster than rear tires because they handle steering and most of the braking force. If you never rotate them, your fronts will be bald while your rears still have half their tread left. Then you're stuck buying 2 new tires and throwing away 2 good ones. I rotate mine in an X pattern every 8,000 kilometers, and I get even wear across all 4. That means when it's time to replace them, I replace all 4 at once, and I get every kilometer of life out of them. I also check the tire pressure every 2 weeks. Underinflated tires wear faster, hurt your fuel economy, and make your car handle like a boat. Overinflated tires give you a harsh ride and wear out the center of the tread. I keep mine at exactly what the door jam sticker says, and I check them cold because tire pressure increases as they heat up from driving. Habit number 7. I never ignore warning lights, ever. Check engine light, ABS light, oil pressure light, battery light. When one of those comes on, I don't wait. I don't hope it goes away. I find out what's wrong immediately, because warning lights aren't suggestions, they're alarms. Your car is trying to tell you something is failing, and if you ignore it, that something will fail completely and take other parts down with it. I've seen people drive for weeks with a check engine light on, thinking it's no big deal. Then one day their car won't start, or it's running so rough they can barely drive it, and they act surprised. You ignored the warning. What did you think was going to happen? I keep an OBD2 scanner in my glove box. The moment a light comes on, I plug it in, read the code, and figure out what needs fixing. Sometimes it's something minor, like a loose gas cap. Sometimes it's something serious, like a failing oxygen sensor. But I always know, and I always fix it fast. Habit number 8. I use only high-quality parts, even when they cost more. There's a reason cheap parts are cheap. They're made with cheaper materials, looser tolerances, and less quality control, and they fail faster. I learned this lesson early. I once bought a cheap aftermarket alternator to save $50. It lasted 6 months before it died and left me stranded on the side of the highway. The tow cost more than the $50 I saved. Now I use OEM parts or premium aftermarket brands, and I never have problems. Your car was designed with specific parts that meet specific standards. When you swap in cheap substitutes, you're gambling with reliability. I'm not saying you have to buy everything from the dealership, but I am saying you should buy quality. For oil filters, I use Wix or Fram Ultra. For spark plugs, I use NGK or Denso. For brake pads, I use Akabono or Bosch. These brands cost a little more, but they last twice as long and perform better. Over 800,000 kilometers, that adds up to fewer failures and lower total cost. Habit number 9. I keep my car clean, inside and out. You might think this is about appearance. It's not. It's about longevity. Dirt, salt, and grime don't just make your car look bad, they cause rust. They clog drains, they trap moisture in places it shouldn't be. And over time, that moisture eats through your metal and destroys your car from the outside in. I wash my car every 2 weeks, and I'm not talking about a quick rinse. I mean a full wash. I scrub the wheels, I clean the wheel wells, I spray out the undercarriage to get rid of salt and road grime. In winter, I wash it every week because the salt on the roads is incredibly corrosive. I've seen cars rust through in just a few years because their owners never washed off the salt. And here's something most people don't think about. I vacuum the interior and wipe down the surfaces. Why? Because dirt and debris can get into places like seat tracks, door hinges, and window regulators. When that happens, those parts start to bind, wear out faster, and eventually fail. A clean car isn't just nice to look at. It's a car that lasts longer. Habit number 10. I address small problems immediately before they become big problems. A little squeaking noise, a slight vibration, a tiny fluid spot on the driveway. Most people ignore these things. They figure if the car still drives, it's fine. I do the opposite. I investigate every little thing, because little things turn into big things fast. That squeaking noise might be a worn belt that's about to snap. That vibration could be a wheel bearing that's going bad. That fluid spot might be a leaking seal that will fail completely in a week. I once noticed a tiny drip of coolant under my truck. It was barely anything, just a few drops. But I crawled under there, traced it back, and found a hose that was starting to crack. I replaced that hose for $20. If I'd ignored it, that hose would have burst, my engine would have overheated, and I'd be looking at thousands in repairs. Small problems are cheap to fix. Big problems are expensive. So I fix small problems while they're still small, and I never let them grow. Habit number 11. I don't overload my vehicle, ever. Every car has a maximum weight capacity. It's printed right on the door jamb, and when you exceed that weight, you're not just making your car work harder, you're breaking it. I see people loading up trucks and SUVs with way more weight than they're designed to carry, and then they wonder why their suspension is shot, their brakes are worn out, and their transmission is slipping. Weight kills cars. It stresses the frame, wears out the suspension, overheats the brakes, and puts extra strain on the engine and transmission. I always check my payload capacity before I load anything heavy, and I stay well under the limit. If I need to haul more than my truck can handle, I make 2 trips or I rent a bigger vehicle. It's not worth destroying my car to save an hour of time, and when I'm not hauling anything, I keep my truck empty. No unnecessary weight, no junk in the back. Every extra kilogram hurts your fuel economy and wears out your components faster. Keep it light and your car will thank you. Habit number 12. I use the right fuel for my engine. Always. If your car calls for premium fuel, use premium fuel. If it calls for regular, use regular. Don't cheap out and use regular when you need premium. And don't waste money on premium when regular is fine. Using the wrong fuel can cause knocking, reduce power, hurt fuel economy, and in some cases, damage your engine over time. I've seen people put regular fuel in cars that require premium because they wanted to save a few dollars per tank. Then they complain that their car doesn't run right, that it's sluggish, that it's getting terrible mileage. Of course it is. You're starving it of the octane it needs. On the flip side, I've also seen people put premium in cars that don't need it, thinking it will make them run better. It won't. If your engine doesn't require it, you're just throwing money away. I use exactly what my owner's manual recommends. Nothing more, nothing less. And my engine runs perfectly because it's getting exactly what it was designed to burn. Habit number 13. I replace my air filter regularly regularly, and I check it between changes. Your engine needs air to run, and that air has to be clean. That's what the air filter does. It catches dirt, dust, pollen, and debris before they get sucked into your engine. But over time, that filter gets clogged, and when it does, your engine can't breathe. A clogged air filter hurts your fuel economy, reduces your power, and can even cause your engine to run rich and foul your spark plugs. I replace my air filter every 20,000 kilometers, and I pull it out and inspect it every few months just to see how it's doing. If it looks dirty, I replace it early. It's a $20 part that takes 2 minutes to change, and it can save you hundreds in fuel costs and engine wear. And here's a tip: don't bother with those reusable oiled filters. They're more trouble than they're worth. Just use a quality paper filter and replace it on schedule. Simple, cheap, effective. Habit number 14. I let my turbo cool down before shutting off the engine. If you have a turbocharged engine, this one's critical. Turbos spin at over 100,000 RPM and get incredibly hot. When you shut off the engine immediately after hard driving, the oil stops flowing, but the turbo is still scorching hot. That bakes the oil inside the turbo and turns it into sludge, which eventually clogs the turbo bearings and kills the turbo. A new turbo can cost $2,000 or more. So here's what I do. After hard driving or highway speeds, I let the engine idle for about 60 seconds before I shut it off. That lets the turbo slow down and cool off while oil is still flowing through it. It's a tiny habit that adds years to your turbo's life. And if your car has an automatic turbo timer, use it. If it doesn't, just count to 60 before you turn the key. Your turbo will last as long as your engine does. Habit number 15. I never ride the clutch, and I don't rest my hand on the shifter. If you drive a manual transmission, these two habits will make your clutch and transmission last twice as long. Riding the clutch means keeping your foot on the pedal when you're not actively shifting. Even a little pressure disengages the clutch partially, which creates friction, heat, and wear. Do that for years and your clutch will be toast long before it should be. I keep my foot completely off the clutch unless I'm shifting, and when I shift, I do it smoothly and deliberately. No grinding, no slipping, no clutch dumps, just smooth, controlled shifts. As for resting your hand on the shifter, that might seem harmless, but it's not. The weight of your hand pushes down on the shifter, which presses the shift fork against the synchros inside the transmission. Over time, that wears them out and causes grinding and hard shifts. I keep both hands on the wheel unless I'm shifting. My clutch has over 400,000 kilometers on it, and it still feels tight. That's not luck. That's technique. Habit number 16. I park smart every single time. Where you park matters more than you think. I never park under trees because sap, bird droppings, and falling branches can damage your paint and your car. I don't park in direct sunlight for hours on end because UV rays fade your interior and crack your dashboard. I don't park on steep hills without using my parking brake because that puts stress on your transmission's parking pawl. And I always use my parking brake, even on flat ground. Why? Because parking brakes need to be used regularly or the cables seize up and stop working. I also avoid parking in tall grass or over piles of leaves because that's a fire hazard. Your exhaust and catalytic converter get hot enough to ignite dry vegetation, and I've seen cars burn to the ground because someone parked in the wrong spot. Park smart. Use your parking brake. Avoid hazards. It's simple, but it works. Habit number 17. I keep up with my timing belt or chain. No exceptions. If your engine has a timing belt, you need to replace it on schedule. If it has a timing chain, you need to inspect it and listen for any rattling noises. A broken timing belt or a stretched timing chain will destroy your engine. I'm not exaggerating. When a timing belt snaps, your pistons slam into your valves, and suddenly you're looking at $5,000 in repairs or a completely destroyed engine. I replace my timing belt every 100,000 kilometers, even if it looks fine. Belts don't give you a warning before they break. They just go, and when they do, your engine goes with them. If your car has a timing chain, it should last the life of the engine, but only if you change your oil regularly and use quality oil. Chains stretch when they don't get proper lubrication, and once they stretch too much, they skip teeth and cause the same catastrophic damage as a broken belt. Habit number 18. I fix exhaust leaks immediately. An exhaust leak might seem like a minor annoyance, a little noise, a slight smell, but it's actually dangerous and damaging. Exhaust leaks can let carbon monoxide into your cabin, which can kill you. They also throw off your oxygen sensor readings, which makes your engine run incorrectly and can damage your catalytic converter. And they make your car loud, which is annoying and can get you pulled over. I check my exhaust system regularly, and if I hear any hissing, popping, or excessive noise, I get under the car and find the leak. Most exhaust leaks happen at the joints or where the pipes connect to the manifold. Sometimes you can fix it with a clamp or some exhaust paste. Sometimes you need to replace a section of pipe. Either way, it's a cheap fix that prevents bigger problems. Don't ignore exhaust leaks. They're more serious than they seem. Habit number 19. I replace my brake fluid every 2 years. Brake fluid is hygroscopic, which means it absorbs moisture from the air. Over time, that moisture lowers the boiling point of the fluid, which can cause your brakes to fade or fail under hard braking. It also causes internal corrosion in your brake lines, calipers, and master cylinder. I've seen brake systems rusted from the inside out because the fluid was never changed. Every 2 years, I take my car to a shop and have them do a complete brake fluid flush. Fresh fluid in, old fluid out. It costs about $100, and it keeps my brakes working perfectly. Your brakes are the most important safety system on your car. Don't neglect them. Fresh brake fluid means reliable stopping power and a brake system that lasts for decades. Old, contaminated fluid means rust, leaks, and potentially catastrophic brake failure. It's not worth the risk. Habit number 20. I inspect my belts and hoses twice a year. Belts and hoses don't last forever. They crack, they dry out, they wear down. And when they fail, they can leave you stranded or cause serious engine damage. I check all my belts and hoses every spring and fall. I look for cracks, fraying, soft spots, and bulges. If I see any of those, I replace the part immediately. It's cheap insurance. A serpentine belt costs $30. Getting towed because it snapped costs $150. Hoses are the same. A radiator hose costs $25. A new engine, because your hose burst and your engine overheated, costs $8,000. I also squeeze my hoses when the engine is cold to check for soft spots or weak areas. If a hose feels mushy, it's on its way out. Replace it before it bursts. This simple habit has saved me from breakdowns more times than I can count. Habit number 21. I never ignore strange smells. Your nose is one of the best diagnostic tools you have. If you smell something unusual, it's your car telling you something is wrong. Burning oil smell? You've got a leak and oil is dripping onto hot engine parts. Sweet smell? That's coolant leaking. Rotten egg smell? Your catalytic converter is failing, or your engine is running too rich. Burning rubber smell? A belt is slipping, or your brakes are dragging. I've learned to identify these smells over the years, and the moment I notice one, I pull over and investigate. Smells don't lie. Your car isn't going to randomly start smelling like burnt toast for no reason. Something is wrong, and you need to find out what before it gets worse. Pay attention to smells, and you'll catch problems early. Habit number 22. I replace my cabin air filter every year. Most people forget this even exists. Your cabin air filter cleans the air that comes into your car through the vents. When it gets clogged with dust, pollen, and debris, your air conditioning works harder, your heater works harder, and the air you're breathing gets dirtier. I replace mine every year, usually in the spring before allergy season. It's a simple job that takes 5 minutes, and the filter costs about $15. Your car's HVAC system will last longer, your air will be cleaner, and you'll breathe easier. If you've never replaced your cabin air filter, pull it out and look at it. You'll probably be horrified. It's one of the most neglected maintenance items, and it's one of the easiest to fix. Habit number 23. I use my parking brake every single time I park. Most people only use the parking brake on hills. That's a mistake. Your parking brake is designed to hold your car in place, not your transmission's parking pal. When you park without the parking brake, all the weight of your car is resting on a tiny metal pin inside your transmission. That pin can break, and when it does, your car can roll away, or your transmission can be damaged. I set my parking brake every time I park, on flat ground, on hills, everywhere. Then I put the car in park. That way, the parking brake is doing the work, and the parking pawl is just a backup. This habit also keeps your parking brake cables from seizing up. If you never use your parking brake, the cables rust and freeze, and then, when you finally need it, it doesn't work. Use it or lose it. Habit number 24. I never push my car beyond its limits. I know what my vehicle is designed to do and I don't ask it to do more. If it's rated to tow 3,000 kilograms, I don't tow 4,000. If it's a front-wheel drive sedan, I don't take it off-road. If it's got 200,000 kilometers on it, I don't drive it like it's brand new. Pushing a car beyond its limits doesn't make you tougher or more capable. It makes your car brake faster. I respect the engineering that went into my vehicle, and I use it the way it was meant to be used. That's why it's still running perfectly after 800,000 kilometers. Habit number 25. I document everything, every oil change, every repair, every part I replace. I keep a log in my glove box and I write it all down. Date, mileage, what was done, and how much it cost. This habit does 3 things. 1. It helps me stay on top of maintenance so I never forget when something is due. 2. It helps me spot patterns and catch problems early. 3. It adds value to my vehicle if I ever decide to sell it, because I can show a complete maintenance history. People will pay more for a car that's been well maintained and documented. It's proof that you cared. Now let's talk about the single biggest mistake that kills more engines than anything else, and how I've avoided it for 800,000 kilometers. This is the habit that matters most, and it's something almost nobody does correctly. The biggest engine killer is heat, and most people have no idea how much damage they're doing by letting their engine overheat, even slightly. You see, aluminum expands when it gets hot, and modern engines use aluminum heads and blocks because they're lighter and transfer heat better than cast iron. But aluminum also warps when it gets too hot, and once it warps, your head gasket fails, your cylinders lose compression, and your engine is finished. Here's what I do. I never, ever let my engine get hot. I watch my temperature gauge constantly. I make sure my cooling system is in perfect working order. I replace my coolant every 3 years. I inspect my radiator hoses. I check my water pump for leaks. I flush my radiator if it starts to get clogged. And if I'm towing, climbing a steep grade, or driving in extreme heat, I keep an even closer eye on that gauge. One time, I was climbing a mountain pass in the middle of summer with a loaded trailer. My temperature gauge started creeping up, not into the red yet, but higher than normal. Most people would have kept going. I didn't. I pulled over, let the engine idle for a few minutes to cool down, and then continued at a slower pace. That decision probably saved my engine, because if I'd kept pushing it, that gauge would have hit the red, and I'd be looking at a blown head gasket. Heat is the silent killer of engines. It doesn't make noise. It doesn't give you much warning. It just quietly destroys your engine from the inside out. So I manage heat religiously. I keep my cooling system perfect. I watch my gauge. I don't push my engine when it's already working hard. And that's why, after 800,000 kilometers, my engine still runs like new. Now here's the truth. Everything I've shared with you today isn't rocket science. It's not expensive. It's not complicated. It's just consistent, smart maintenance, and careful driving. But that consistency is what most people can't do. They skip an oil change here, ignore a warning light there, push their car a little too hard, and then wonder why it only lasted 150,000 kilometers. My truck has 800,000 kilometers on it because I've done everything right every single time. For over 20 years, I've never skipped maintenance. I've never ignored a problem. I've never abused my vehicle, and it's paid off. I've spent money on routine maintenance, but I've never had a major failure. No engine rebuild, no transmission replacement, no catastrophic breakdowns, just regular upkeep and smart habits. If you want your car to last, you have to commit to taking care of it, not just when it's convenient, but all the time. Every oil change, every inspection, every warning light, every strange noise. You have to stay on top of it, because the moment you let something slide, that's when problems start. And here's the best part. Once you build these habits, they become automatic. You don't have to think about checking your oil every week. You just do it. You don't have to remind yourself to drive gently. It becomes second nature. And before you know it, you're not just maintaining a car. You're keeping a machine alive that will serve you for decades. So here's my challenge to you. Pick 3 habits from this video and start doing them this week. Check your fluids. Inspect your tires. Change your oil on time. Whatever it is, just start. And then add more habits over time until you're doing all of them. Because I promise you, if you take care of your car the way I've taken care of mine, it will take care of you for hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Habit number 26. I never buy cheap of fuel from sketchy gas stations. Not all gasoline is created equal. Major brands like Shell, Chevron, BP, and Exxon have additives and detergents that keep your fuel system clean. Cheap, no-name stations often sell fuel that's been sitting in their tanks for months, collecting water and sediment. I learned this the hard way early in my career. I filled up at a cheap station to save a few cents per liter, and within 2 days my engine was running rough. Turned out I got a tank full of watered-down fuel that clogged my fuel filter and fouled my injectors. Now, I only fill up at major brand stations, and I pay attention to the station's condition. If the pumps look old and neglected, if the station looks like it doesn't get much traffic, I keep driving. High-volume stations turn over their fuel quickly, which means it's fresh. Low-volume stations might have fuel sitting underground for months, and that's when problems start. Your fuel system is expensive to repair. Fuel injectors can cost $200 each. A fuel pump replacement can run $800. Don't risk it to save 3 on a tank of gas. Habit number 27. I keep my gas tank at least a quarter full at all times. Running on empty might seem harmless, but it's actually destroying your fuel pump. Your fuel pump sits inside your gas tank, and it relies on gasoline to keep it cool. When you constantly run your tank down to the last few liters, the pump overheats, wears out faster, and eventually dies. I've replaced fuel pumps that failed at 100,000 kilometers just because the owner always waited until the warning light came on before filling up. Those pumps should last 300,000 kilometers. There's another reason to keep your tank at least a quarter full. The bottom of your gas tank collects sediment over time. When your fuel level gets too low, your pump starts sucking up that sediment and pushing it through your fuel filter and into your injectors. That causes rough running, poor fuel economy, and eventually expensive repairs. I fill up when I hit a quarter tank, always. It's not about being paranoid. It's about understanding how the system works and protecting it. Habit number 28. I replace my spark plugs before they're completely worn out. Most people wait until their engine is misfiring before they think about spark plugs. By then, the damage is already done. Worn spark plugs don't just cause misfires. They make your engine work harder, waste fuel, and can damage your catalytic converter and ignition coils. A new catalytic converter costs $1,500 or more. A set of ignition coils costs $400, all because someone tried to squeeze an extra 20,000 kilometers out of $60 worth of spark plugs. I replace my plugs every 80,000 kilometers, even if they still look okay. Modern plugs can technically last 100,000 kilometers or more, but I found that by 80,000, they're worn enough to affect performance. Fresh plugs give you better fuel economy, smoother idle, and more power, and they protect the other components in your ignition system. It's cheap preventative maintenance that pays for itself in fuel savings and avoided repairs. I use premium plugs like NGK Iridium or Denso Platinum, and I gap them to the exact specification in my owner's manual. No guessing, no cheap parts, just quality components installed correctly. Habit number 29. I inspect my battery and charging system twice a year. Your battery and alternator work together to keep your car running. When one fails, it can take the other one down with it. A weak battery makes your alternator work harder, which shortens its life. A failing alternator doesn't charge your battery properly, which kills the battery. I test my battery voltage twice a year, in spring and fall. A healthy battery should read 12.6 volts or higher when the engine is off. Anything lower than 12.4 means it's getting weak. I also test my charging system by checking voltage with the engine running. It should be between 13.7 and 14.7 volts. If it's lower, your alternator isn't charging properly. If it's higher, it's overcharging and will cook your battery. These tests take 5 minutes with a cheap multimeter, and they've saved me from getting stranded more times than I can count. I've caught weak batteries before they died on a cold morning, and I've caught failing alternators before they left me with a dead car in a parking lot. Habit number 30. I protect my paint with wax twice a year. This might sound like vanity, but it's actually protection. Your car's paint isn't just for looks. It's the first line of defense against rust. When paint gets damaged, oxidized, or worn through, moisture reaches the metal underneath and rust begins. Once rust starts, it spreads like cancer, and it's incredibly difficult to stop. I wax my car twice a year, once in spring and once in fall. A good coat of wax seals the paint, protects it from UV rays, and makes water bead off instead of sitting on the surface. I use a a quality Carnauba wax and I apply it by hand. It takes a couple of hours, but it's worth it. I've seen 20-year-old cars with perfect paint because their owners waxed regularly, and I've seen 5-year-old cars with paint that's oxidized and faded because they never protected it. Wax is cheap insurance. A good wax costs $20 and lasts 6 months. Repainting a car costs thousands. Do the math. Habit number 31. I never modify my car in ways that stress the engine or drivetrain. Big wheels, lowered suspension, performance chips, turbo kits. These modifications might look cool or add power, but they also add stress. Bigger wheels make your gearing taller, which makes your engine work harder. Lowered suspension changes your alignment angles and wears out your tires faster. Performance chips push your engine beyond what it was designed to handle, which shortens its life. I keep my truck completely stock except for maintenance items. No lift kit, no oversized tires, no performance mods. It's designed to run a certain way, and I let it do that. That's part of why it's lasted so long. I'm not asking it to be something it's not. If you want a fast car, buy a fast car. If you want a lifted truck, buy a truck designed for that. Don't take a perfectly good vehicle and modify it into something unreliable. Habit number 32. I address rust spots immediately before they spread. Rust doesn't heal itself. It only gets worse. The moment I see a rust spot, even a tiny one, I deal with it. I sand it down to bare metal, treat it with a rust converter, prime it, and paint it. This takes maybe an hour, and it stops the rust from spreading. If you ignore a small rust spot, it grows, and it grows fast, especially in areas that trap moisture like wheel wells, door seams, and rocker panels. I've seen cars with rust holes the size of your fist that started as a spot the size of a coin. The owner thought it wasn't a big deal, and by the time they decided to fix it, the damage was too extensive to repair cheaply. Rust is like cancer. Catch it early and you can stop it. Ignore it, and it kills the car. I inspect my truck for rust every few months, and I fix any spots I find immediately. That's why, even after 800,000 kilometers and 20 years, my frame is still solid. Habit number 33. I drive with my windows up on dusty roads. This one might seem small, but it matters. Driving with your windows down on dirt roads, construction zones, or dusty highways pulls dust and debris into your cabin. That dust gets into your HVAC system, clogs your cabin air filter faster, and settles on every surface inside your car. Over time, it also works its way into places like door seals, window tracks, and seat mechanisms, causing premature wear. I keep my windows up and run the air recirculation mode when I'm in dusty conditions. It keeps the interior clean and protects the systems. And when I get home, I vacuum the interior to remove any dust that did get in. This habit has kept my interior looking nearly new after 2 decades. No worn fabric, no cracked dashboard, no clogged vents. Just a clean, well-maintained cabin that's comfortable to drive in every day. Habit number 34. I never ignore vibrations or pulling while driving. If your car vibrates at highway speeds, that's not normal. If it pulls to one side when you brake, that's not normal. If your steering wheel shakes, that's not normal. These are symptoms of real problems, and ignoring them only makes those problems worse. A vibration at speed usually means a tire is out of balance or a wheel bearing is failing. A pull when braking means your calipers are sticking or your rotors are warped. I address these issues the same day I notice them. I don't wait. I don't hope they go away. I get my car to a shop and I figure out what's wrong, because a $20 wheel balance now prevents a $200 tire replacement later. A $150 brake job now prevents a $200 caliper and rotor replacement later. Listen to what your car is telling you. It's not trying to annoy you. It's trying to warn you that something needs attention. Habit number 35. I keep a maintenance log and follow it religiously. I mentioned this earlier, but it's worth expanding on because it's one of the most important habits I have. I keep a detailed log of every single service, repair, and part replacement. I write down the date, the mileage, what was done, what parts were used, and how much it cost. I also note any symptoms or concerns I had at the time. This log has been invaluable over the years. When something goes wrong, I can look back and see patterns. If I replaced a part 2 years ago and it's failing again, I know something else is causing premature wear. If my fuel economy drops, I can compare it to previous records and figure out what changed. When I take my truck to a shop, I can show them exactly what's been done and when, which helps them diagnose problems faster. And if I ever decide to sell my truck, I can hand the new owner a complete maintenance history that proves it's been cared for. This habit requires discipline. You have to write everything down every time, but it's worth it. Your car is a complex machine with hundreds of parts that all work together. Keeping track of what you've done helps you stay ahead of problems and gives you the information you need to make smart decisions. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I'll never stop. Habit number 36. I understand that preventative maintenance is always cheaper than repairs. This is the mindset that has saved me tens of thousands of dollars over the life of my truck. Every time I spend money on maintenance, I'm not spending money. I'm saving money. Every oil change prevents engine wear. Every tire rotation prevents uneven tire wear and premature replacement. Every fluid flush prevents component failure. It all adds up to a car that lasts longer and costs less to own. Most people see maintenance as an expense. They try to put it off, skip it, or cheap out on it. And then they're shocked when their car breaks down and the repair bill is massive. I see maintenance as an investment. I budget for it. I plan for it. I never skip it. And because of that, I've never had a catastrophic failure. I've never been stranded. I've never faced a repair bill that was so big it made me question whether to fix the car or junk it. My truck has cost me money over the years. Oil changes, tires, brakes, filters, fluids. But it's never cost me a transmission. It's never cost me an engine. And it's never left me on the side of the road calling a tow truck. That's because I've taken care of it from day one, and I've never let maintenance slide. If you adopt this mindset, your car will last as long as mine has. Now, let me share one final insight that ties all of this together. Everything I've talked about today, every habit, every tip, every piece of advice, it all comes down to one thing: respect. You have to respect your car as a machine that needs care. It's not an appliance. It's not something you can ignore until it breaks. It's a complex system of mechanical and electronic components that work together, and they need your attention. When you respect your car, you listen to it. You notice when something sounds different or feels different. You check things regularly. You fix small problems before they become big ones. You don't abuse it, and you don't neglect it. And in return, your car will respect you. It will start every morning. It will get you where you need to go. It will last for hundreds of thousands of kilometers. The difference between a car that dies at 150,000 kilometers and a car that makes it to 800,000 kilometers isn't luck. It's not better manufacturing or better parts. It's how the owner treats it. I've seen identical cars, same year, same model, same engine. One dies at 160,000 kilometers because the owner never changed the oil on time and drove it hard. The other is still running strong at 600,000 kilometers because the owner followed a simple maintenance schedule and drove carefully. You get to choose which kind of owner you want to be. You can be the person who treats their car like it's disposable, who skips maintenance, who ignores warning signs, and who ends up replacing cars every few years because they keep breaking down. Or you can be the person who treats their car with respect, who maintains it properly, and who drives the same vehicle for decades because it's still running perfectly. I chose the second path, and it's taken me to 800,000 kilometers without a single major failure. You can do the same. All it takes is commitment, consistency, and a willingness to put in the small amount of effort required to keep your car healthy. The habits I've shared with you today aren't complicated. They're not time-consuming. They're not expensive, but they work. Start today. Pick a few habits and implement them this week. Check your oil, inspect your tires, make sure your fluids are topped off, schedule that oil change you've been putting off, address that warning light that's been on for a month. Whatever it is, just start, and then keep going. Week after week, month after month, year after year. Build these habits into your routine until they're automatic, because here's the truth. Your car doesn't care about excuses. It doesn't care that you were too busy or too broke or too tired to do the maintenance. It just cares whether the work gets done, and if it doesn't, your car will break down. It's that simple. But if you do the work, if if you stay on top of it, your car will reward you with decades of reliable service. That's what I've learned over 800,000 kilometers in 20 years with the same truck. Take care of your car, and it will take care of you. Neglect it, and it will leave you stranded. The choice is yours. Make it a good one. If you found this video helpful, make sure you're subscribed because I've got more videos coming that will save you thousands in repairs. Next week, I'm breaking down the most common mechanic scams and how to avoid them. You don't want to miss that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.